A woman goes into a tackle shop to buy a rod and reel for her grandson's birthday. She doesn't know which one to get, so she just grabs one and goes over to the counter. The woman notices a cashier is standing there wearing dark shades. She says, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me anything about this rod and reel?" The cashier replies, "Ma'am, I'm completely blind. But if you'll drop it on the counter, I can tell you everything from the sound it makes." The woman doesn't believe him, but drops it on the counter anyway. The cashier says, "That's a 6-foot Shakespeare graphite rod with a Zebco 404 reel and 10 lb test line. It's a good all-around combination, and it's on sale this week for only $20. The woman is astonished and says, "It's amazing that you can tell all that just by the sound of it dropping on the counter. I'll take it." As she opens her purse, her credit card drops on the floor. "Oh, that sounds like a MasterCard," the cashier says. As the woman bends down to pick up her card, she accidentally farts. At first, she is really embarrassed, but then realizes there is no way the blind clerk could tell it was she who farted. The cashier rings up the sale and says, "That'll be $34.50, please." The woman is totally confused by this and asks, "Didn't you tell me the rod and reel were on sale for $20? How did you get $34.50? The cashier replied, "Yes, the rod and reel are $20, but the duck call is $11 and the bear repellent is $3.50. A big city lawyer was representing the railroad in a lawsuit filed by an old rancher. The rancher's prize bull was missing from the section through which the railroad passed. The rancher was only asking to be paid the fair value of the bull. The case was scheduled to be tried before the Justice of the Peace at the courthouse, located in the town's square. The railroad's attorney immediately cornered the rancher and tried to get him to settle out of court. He did his best-selling job, and finally, the rancher agreed to take half of what he was originally asking. After the rancher had signed the release and accepted the check, the young lawyer couldn't resist gloating a little over his success. He tells the rancher, "You are really a country hick, old man. I sure put one over on you in there. You see, I couldn't have won the case. The engineer was asleep, and the fireman was in the caboose. When the train went through your ranch that morning, I didn't have one witness to put on the stand. I bluffed you." The old rancher replied, "Well, I'll tell you, young fella, I was a little worried about winning that case myself. 'Cause that darned bull came home this morning." Jack decided to go skiing with his best buddy Bob. So they loaded up Jack's minivan and headed north. After driving for a few hours, they got caught in a terrible blizzard. They pulled into a nearby farm and asked the attractive lady who answered the door if they could spend the night. "I realize it's terrible weather out there, and I have this huge house all to myself, but I'm recently widowed," she explained. "I'm afraid the neighbors will talk if I let you stay in my house." "Don't worry," Jack said. "We'll be happy to sleep in the barn. And if the weather breaks, we'll be gone at first light." The lady agreed, and the two men found their way to the barn and settled in for the night. Come morning, the weather had cleared, and they got on their way. They enjoyed a great weekend of skiing. But about 9 months later, Jack got an unexpected letter from an attorney. It took him a few minutes to figure it out, but he finally determined that it was from the attorney of that attractive widow he had met on the ski weekend. He dropped in on his friend Bob and asked, "Bob, do you remember that good-looking widow from the farm we stayed at on our ski holiday up north about 9 months ago?" "Yeah, I do," said Bob. "Did you happen to get up in the middle of the night, go up to the house and pay her a visit?" "Well, yeah," Bob said. a little embarrassed about being found out. "And did you happen to give her my name instead of telling her your name?" Bob's face turned beet red, and he said, "Yeah, look, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm afraid I did." "Why do you ask?" Jack replied. "She just died and left me everything." A man escapes from prison where he has been for 15 years. He breaks into a house to look for money and guns and finds a young couple in bed. He orders the guy out of bed and ties him to a chair. He ties the girl to the bed, gets on top of her, kisses her neck, and then gets up and goes into the bathroom. While he's in there, the husband tells his wife, "Listen, this guy is an escaped convict. Look at his clothes. He probably spent lots of time in jail and hasn't seen a woman in years. I saw how he kissed your neck. If he wants sex, don't resist, don't complain, do whatever he tells you. Satisfy him no matter how much he nauseates you. This guy is probably very dangerous. If he gets angry, he'll kill us. Be strong, honey. I love you." His wife responds, "He wasn't kissing my neck. He was whispering in my ear. He told me he was gay, thought you were cute, and asked me if we had any Vaseline." 3 guys die together in a tragic accident, and they all go to heaven. When they get there, St. Peter greets them and tells them, "We only have one rule here in heaven, don't step on the ducks." So they enter heaven, and sure enough, there are ducks all over the place. It's almost impossible not to step on a duck. There are so many, and though they try their utmost to avoid standing on them, the first guy soon accidentally steps on one. St. Peter then appears with the ugliest woman the guy had ever seen. St. Peter chains the woman to the guy and says to him, "Your punishment for stepping on a duck is to spend eternity chained to this ugly woman." The next day, the second guy also accidentally steps on a duck. Once again, St. Peter shows up, and with him is another extremely ugly woman. He chains the woman to the second guy, saying, "Your punishment for stepping on a duck is to spend eternity chained to this ugly woman." The third guy has observed all this, and as he really doesn't want to be chained to an ugly woman for eternity, he's extremely careful where he steps. Indeed, he manages to go months without stepping on any ducks. One day, though, St. Peter appears with the most gorgeous woman the guy has ever laid eyes on. She's tall, curvaceous, tanned, and extremely sexy. Without a word, St. Peter chains the woman to the third guy. The guy happily says to the woman, "I wonder what I did to deserve being chained to you for all eternity." The woman replies, "I don't know about you, but I stepped on a duck." A pilgrim was walking across a prairie when he came across a small town. Passing through the town, he noticed a saloon and decided to stop and quench his thirst. After ordering a beer, he stood at the bar and observed the other clientele in the saloon. Suddenly, the saloon door swung open and a cowboy came running in yelling, "Big Jake's coming!" Within seconds, the establishment had cleared, leaving the pilgrim and his beer alone at the bar. Sure enough, a huge 7.5-foot, 500-pound cowboy came swaggering in, tearing out the front door frame with his broad shoulders. The cowboy looked around the saloon, marched over to the pilgrim, picked him up by the scruff of the neck, and threw him over the bar, bellowing, "Gimme a drink." The pilgrim complied, placing the almost full bottle next to a glass on the bar. The cowboy tossed back the drink, then bit the neck off the bottle and emptied that too. At that point, the pilgrim, shaking in his boots, asked, "Sir, would you care for another?" To which the cowboy replied, "Nope, I gotta go." Big Jake's coming. There was a woman who wanted to repaint her house, so she called the contractor and set an appointment to meet with him. When the contractor comes to her house, they do a walkthrough, and he asks her what colors she would like. As they enter the living room, she tells him that she would like a nice, warm cream color. The contractor writes something down on his pad, then walks to the window and yells, "Green side up." The lady gets a little confused, and they continue to the dining room where she tells him, "I would like a nice warm white in here, nothing stark." The contractor writes something down on his pad again, then walks to the window and again yells, "Green side up." The lady is really confused now, but still does not say anything. They continue to her bedroom, and she says, "I would like a nice, cool, relaxing blue in here." The contractor writes something on his pad and again walks to the window and yells, "Green side up." The woman is now totally perplexed and says to the contractor, "3 times I have told you the color that I want, and you write something on your pad, then you walk to the window and yell, 'Green side up.' What is going on?" The contractor replies, "Well, if you look across the street, I have 4 blondes laying sod in your neighbor's yard." Subscribe to the channel. This is important. It will help me continue my work.